All right, well, by now you've probably heard the term quiet quitting, the idea that people are not going above and beyond at work these days. They're just kind of meeting their job description.
Yeah, it turns out those quiet quitters make up half the job force. A Gallup poll found that 50% of U.S. employers are quietly quitting, and the amount of disengaged to engaged workers is the lowest in almost a decade. So what's driving this trend of unhappy workers?
Yeah, joining us now to talk more about it is Bradley Sherman, the founder and CEO of the Super Age. Bradley, nice to see you back. Thank you.
Good to be back with you. Thanks for having me today.
You know, I feel like when we talk about this, it's really just called doing the bare minimum. I mean, that's what we called it back in the day, right? But the culture of work seems to be changing every day, and employers are now struggling to recruit and retain workers. So what's going on?
Well, there's a big demographic trend that's hit this country pretty hard. The first thing is during the pandemic, we had too many older people leave the workforce, either because they retired or because they were fired. And then we had a whole group of young people, which is much smaller than previous generations, coming in. So there really just aren't enough people to fill the seats that we have available.
Yeah, it seems like we saw that a lot with travel and aviation with the pilot shortage. All right, so how did this labor shortage happen, and what can we do to actually fix it?
Well, the labor shortage happened because we didn't have enough kids and because we let too many older people go.
Yeah.
This is a long-term trend now. In fact, this has been ongoing for about 25 years. So as these babies from 25 years ago become adults, there are simply fewer of them to go around. And this has really changed the dynamic of the labor force. We are now in a tight labor force, perhaps one of the tightest in my history of being a worker. And in fact, that's changing the way workers and employees engage with one another, which is leading to this quiet quitting, this demand for higher salaries, as well as differing benefits.
Yeah, so we hear the term a lot, quiet quitting, over and over again. It's the past month or two. So what exactly is it, and why do managers, I guess I can imagine, but why do they just hate it so much?
Yeah, you know, managers are struggling with this term because people are actually fulfilling their job requirements. They're actually doing what they've been asked to do. But managers for a long time have gotten drunk off this idea that labor will always be there. It'll always be cheap. It'll always be available. But now that's not the case. So workers actually hold more of the cards. Younger people, particularly Gen X, have stood up and said, you know what, I'd like some boundaries in the workplace. I'd like not to be bothered at night, on the weekends. I'm here, I'll work for you. I'm gonna do what I can 9 to 5, but after that, you need to let me be.
I think also during the pandemic, we saw so many people create their own careers and jobs working for themselves. So there's also something you say, it's called acting your wage. What is that?
Well, acting your wage is a bit funny, a bit of a funny term, but you know, it has one of those connotations to whether or not a person who's a high salaried employee should have the same rules as a person who is a lower salaried employee. And there seems to be a pretty big disconnect here. Managers love having flexibility for themselves, but sometimes struggle giving flexibility to their younger, less experienced workers. And until we find that same kind of balance within the workplace, we're going to keep having this tension occur between managers and the subordinates.
Yeah, so I'm curious about this. If employees are doing what's called quiet quitting, does that mean managers are quiet firing and, you know, just kind of going about their business and all of a sudden you're called into the office?
Yeah, you know, Tamsin, it's a question of the chicken and the egg.
Right?
You know, in many respects, quiet firing has been around for a lot longer than quiet quitting.
I was going to say, I think so.
In fact, you know, since the first boomers entered the workplace, quiet firing has been the way things are done. Managers take away responsibilities, leave you off of emails, don't include you in meetings. This is a way of them eroding your place in the workplace so that rather than them having to actually fire you, you'll leave under the pressure of becoming less of who you were, less of an asset to the team at the end of the day. It's really a terrible way to manage, but it's a way many managers have attempted to control their own inability to manage their teams.
Yeah, sadly it's worked, you know. Sadly it's worked.
So what do you say that employers can do in hiring managers to win in this talent game right now?
Yeah, you know, above and beyond, people love money. So if you can find those extra resources to put them forward, younger people, middle career people, and even older people in the workforce will go above and beyond if cash is on the table. But more and more often today, we're finding that people across the board, regardless of their age or stage in career in the workplace, want flexibility. It is not that hard to deliver as a manager, and it's certainly not that hard for employees to figure out if they're given the license to take better control and bigger control of their own schedules.
I feel like you'll see employees give back more if they feel like they're getting something like that, to be a little more creative.
Right.
Bradley, always good to see you. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Great being with you as well. Thank you, Tamsin and Ernie.
Of course. And to learn more about this topic or buy Bradley's book, The Super Age, head over to his website, thesuperage.com.
Maybe they need to push more of those 4-day work weeks.
Oh, yeah, right?
Right.
Got a suggestion list.
Yes. All right.